Okay. All righty. I tried a new thing today. I spoke my notes into dictation because it was a fun new trick that I learned and I wanted to try it. But I'm looking here and I'm like, gosh, it doesn't, well, I didn't proofread it. And so it's pretty bad. So we'll do the best that we can. Sometimes I shoot from the cuff. Usually I do that, but I wanted to narrow my thoughts today. Okay. So for me, part of S.O.S is a huge part, actually, it's probably why it was created, was about emotional honesty, right? And I look around here at S.O.S and I think that's what we're doing. I think we're really achieving that in different ways. We're growing in our comfort to bring our feelings and thoughts and our emotions before God and each other, even the ones that are unpleasant or really darn right painful. We're growing in comfort, bringing those forward. And I think that's very cool. Many times my honesty with God is about hardships and trouble too, just in my own private time, Oh, and that's where my life is a lot of the time. That's where my truth and my time of reflection is. But just because that's what's true for me, there's a lot of hard things going on, it seems like, on a regular basis. And I have a solid practice throughout the day which includes like times of reflection. Poor Jen gets a lot of them throughout the day. Oh, you know what I realized? Oh, you know what I thought of? She gets a lot of those through Voxer. And they include the hardships for sure throughout the day. And trying to figure out what does it mean, dissect them and learn. But it also includes victories or celebrations, wonders, maybe. I wonder a lot. I'm like a 3-year-old or 4-year-old child. But it also includes gratitude and thanks throughout the day. I just really work hard to see God in all my moments. I don't have to work hard at it anymore. Now it's just more of a practice. But sometimes those gratitude and thanks moments, or these like times of reflection throughout the day, can look like this for me. So have any of you ever had times where hardships going on? It actually came out as hard shit, but I meant to say hardship. That was ridiculous. Okay, so I just enunciate. Okay, where hardships going on, and then we have a moment of pause where we feel great and relieved and thankful. But then in that moment, in that time where life is like, okay, we've got a rhythm here. We're feeling all right. And then, and we start to feel anxious and worried because, okay, but what's on the way? I'm not used to getting to live here. I'm used to what's usually living in the pits and and so our pause is stolen by the, You ever have those moments? I see Donna shaking her head. It's kind of like being in a holding tank and waiting for the next bad thing to happen, like a roller coaster. I imagine a roller coaster. They have really intense ones like Goliath, or the one I'm more familiar with would be the old-fashioned Colossus, right? And there's the slow climb, and it's slow, and right, and you feel the climb and you feel the work of the climb, like, come on, get me out of this pit, I've got to go, I'm so tired, I got to get out of this, I just got to get to the top, right? And then it's ouch and it's painful and it's slow and there's even energy building because it's like, come on, I got to get out of here. And then boom, you hit the crest, and the crest comes with relief, pause, breath. But really and truly, that lasts like for one heartbeat or two, and then it quickly fades until because we realize it was just a short pause before we plunge down into deep dark, and then we're screaming down the hill of the roller coaster, right? We do this. This is like the metaphor for Rachelle's life, what goes on inside of her. So then my heart starts to race at the top, at the pause, when I should be enjoying the pause and the view. And look, I can see the whole park, Magic Mountain. My heart starts to race. I tremble. I'm feeling scared. I'm nervous. My hands are wet. My chest is tightening. I have to remember to breathe. That shot of adrenaline leaves me like wanting to run, or be frozen in fear or just like collapse because I've used all of my energy in that 0.20 seconds. And right before I go into a whole nother plunge, that's how I start the plunge, is already worked up before I didn't use the pause to fill up. I used it to freak out about what might be coming. Times for me about the pause, they were sometimes more terrifying because I knew what was coming. Didn't even enjoy it. So this reminds me of Jesus in this one story. This one runs through my head a lot. I like to see the character of Jesus, right? The emotional aspect, or the human aspects of him. And so what's happening here, I'm going to be over in Matthew 14. What happens here is Jesus had just sent his followers, his disciples out in groups of 2 to go do miracles. He just sent them out. He gave them the power, the equipment, and they're out doing this amazing work. And they're excited and they've done miracles. And so in the meantime, Jesus has found out that John the Baptist, his cousin, died in prison at the hand of Herod, right? So he finds out about this. The guys come back and they're all excited. But Jesus had this blow of, my cousin just died. So he's down. And then the guys come back and they're telling him, they're all excited, like, we just did this. Yeah, bro. Yeah. And they're like, I imagine this high five moment, like, tell me what you did. And there's this. So then he's up. And then we go into Matthew 14, verse 13. So I'll read it if you want, because I just typed it in here. Matthew chapter 14, verse 13. When Jesus heard what happened to John, he left in a boat. He went alone to a place where no one lived. I feel like that's the pain. That's the pit. That's the right? He was hurt. He was excited. He felt their excitement, but then he was quickly dropped into the thing because, dude, John the Baptist, my cousin, he did great stuff. I love him. And he's dead. Now he's back in the pit, up, down, just like a roller coaster. Not only that, but he had sent the guys out. Let's see. So yeah, I just said that. There's the high of the situation, and then there's the low because he found out. Then the guys come, so he's on a high again, and then he's like, "Whew, I need to go alone to a place where no one lived." He like creates the pause. He creates the rest. He's like, "I get it. All this is great. That's really sad, and you know what? I'm only human. I need to go take a pause." He's doing the work of the climb in that moment. He went alone, and that's his work of the climb, to pray. He did that a lot, and that was his work of the climb. Matthew chapter 14, verse 13, part B. But the people heard that Jesus had left, so they left their towns and followed him. They went by land to the same place he went. When Jesus got out of the boat, he saw a large crowd of people. I would feel like, boom, I'm back in the pits, dude. I can't even catch a break. I was trying to get alone, but then the people, they're all there. They ran ahead of me. So he felt sorry for them, and he healed the ones who were sick. Jesus is grieving. To me, he's grieving and dealing with this loss, and then bam, he's smacked in the face with more needs. Okay, when I start having too many situations like this in a short period of time, I start to feel a little overwhelmed. So any parents out there who've had their heart broken, received bad news, just had a lot of like rough days in a row. But guess what? They still have to wake up on time and feed their kids and get them to school. There's still this like amount of functioning that needs to go on. And it's not just parents. It could be students. It could be workers. It could be anybody. But where, shoot, I'm heartbroken and I'm devastated and I've got all this energy and all this emotion. I'm worn out, but shoot, there are needs right before me and I have to function. I have to do them, right? I see Wes laughing. Where we have to do the deeds of the day despite our heartache and grief. So back to Matthew 14, verse 15. Late that afternoon, the followers came to Jesus and said, "No one lives in this place, and it's already late. Send people away so they can go to the towns and buy food for themselves." Jesus said, "The people don't need to go away. You give them some food to eat." Remember, they just got back from doing all these miracles. They were 2 by 2 doing all these miracles. And they're like, we don't have any food for them. I'd be thinking, what the heck? Okay. So then the followers answered, "But we only have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish." Because they're like in an isolated place. They're in a secluded place. So if the people don't get on the road, they're not going to have any food. They got to get home. There's no stores or, places nearby. to get food. So Jesus said, bring the bread and the fish to me. Remember, he's supposed to be on his retreat to breathe. Bring the bread and the fish to me. Then he told the people to sit down on the grass. He took the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish. He looked into the sky and thanked God for the food. Then he broke the bread into pieces, which he gave to the followers, and they gave the food to the people. Everyone ate until they were full. When they finished eating, the followers filled 12 baskets with the pieces of food that were not eaten. There were about 5,000 men there who ate. There were also women and children, so easily, maybe double that, who knows. The fact that the guys had just come back from all these miracles, and then they're like, hey, we don't have any food, send them home. I simply can't get it. And then how did it not occur to them? I wonder to myself, how did it not occur to them that they could just perform another miracle, or that they were with the guy who gave them the power to perform miracles? Friggin' annoying, dude. Or that they, so I imagine Jesus was maybe a little frustrated, like, dude, they still don't get this. They still don't get the power I'm giving them. I would be feeling that overwhelm start to settle in. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm treading water. I can't even catch a break, and they're not going to get it. They're not going to understand this by the time I leave here. I'd feel panicked, which I can do. We all know that Rachelle can feel panicked. Matthew chapter 14, verse 22. Then Jesus made the followers get into the boat. He told them to go to the other side of the lake. You guys go. He said he would come later. He stayed there to tell everyone that they would go home. Or he started to tell everyone they could go home. After Jesus said goodbye to the people, he went up to the hills by himself to pray. It was late and he was there alone. So what I see in Jesus here is he displays a healthy mix of pain, but seeing needs and serving, but then also recognizing the pause and taking it. But then, so he's kind of like up, down, all over like this, but he finds ways to create pauses. He's now there completely alone. And he sort of repeats this cycle throughout the Bible, or throughout, the New Testament, especially the Gospels. I love seeing the humanity of Jesus. I love placing myself into his different situations and picturing them. I like play movies into my head as if it were my own, because you know what that helps me do? Actually place my own situations into those types of feeling things that I imagine in my head that he would have been feeling. Because so often Jesus' stories, they are my stories. If I have developed this healthy practice of looking back and looking forward and contemplating and reviewing and going through the hardships and finding Jesus in it and finding the pauses. And if I develop this practice, I can see Jesus a little bit clearly. So I recently came back from a trip that I had taken where I was completely alone on my birthday. I'd hit a wall of overwhelm. Boop, I cannot take another thing. All my systems and inlets and outlets were completely fried and frazzled. I'd hit a wall of overwhelm and I couldn't take another thing, not another need, no more requests, no more things being brought to my attention. I couldn't see any more needs. I couldn't hear any more needs. I couldn't feel any more needs. Like I was absolutely fried at every inlet. I truly needed to go to the hill. And I did take that time in the hill. Thankfully, I have a partner who, not only kind of set it up and set it in motion for me, but allowed me to do it. And I came back stronger and more focused. I had to go reset. That was a big pause, but I try to create them throughout the day as well. I was ready to jump back in as Jesus did, right? A lot of times people with my job say, I can't even imagine how you deal with all this stuff. I have to create the pauses. I would be down and not get back up. And that's a dark place to be. I've been there too many times to know that. This is important for me to see Jesus as he took a pause. Jesus, I need to see him as a human with certain limits for himself. He's freaking Jesus, dude. And he still was taking the pauses. It gives me grace for myself, but also permission. Not only does it give me permission, because, if Jesus did it, well, I am not better than Jesus. So I'm going to need to do it too. It gives me direction. It gives me clarity. It gives me a plan. If it was a requirement for him, it's a requirement for me just as much. So I pray that we all, as we are going through our days, our moments, we don't have to wait a whole day. We can find a moment throughout our day to find a need for a pause, right? We might need several pauses, and that might mean an extra 15 seconds when we're going to the bathroom. That might mean, you know, whatever it's going to look like for us. Maybe I move extra slow as I'm going up the stairs, and it's not purely because my back is hurting. It's just, it's all different little pauses. And I find Jesus setting such an example here in such these extreme highs and these extreme lows. And some of the lows are because, dude, they don't get my message still. Kind of like our kids. You don't get why I'm telling you this still. And it's hurtful and frustrating and sad. So, anyway, I hope that as we go through the week, we can find our pauses and hopefully learn to not be so afraid of that still, calm, pausing energy, because sometimes that can be really terrifying. So, that's all I have for today. Remembering the pause.
Thank you, Jonesy. That was that was great because I think one of the things that you touched on for me is the permission to take the pause and remember and seeing, like you just said, if Jesus did it, then not only are we allowed to do it, but if he did it, then obviously we need to do it, because he's Jesus, he's perfect, and he still needed the pause. So that just tells me that not only is it okay for us to make sure we do that, but it's actually necessary for us to do that. So thank you for that. I wrote it here in my things. Jesus took the pause because I like you said, we have so many roles that we play, moms, kids, work, wife, all the things. And so actually, especially in the Christian setting and the church setting, taking a pause is not, it's so frowned upon. It's so, going away for a weekend by yourself, society says, "Oh, that's selfish. That's so selfish," So it's easy to let society and let the world and the expectations of our life and feeding all the people and doing all the things, it's so easy for us to just kind of like, I don't have time, I'm not allowed to, if I do that it's selfish, if I do whatever. But the reminder that Jesus recognized, like, I need a minute so that I can go serve the 5,000, so I can feed the 5,000, so I can be present. And so often this story, just when we've read it in studies and stuff in the past, the focus is on, oh, Jesus was grieving, but he still showed up for people. You know what I mean? Like, we skip over the part where Jesus was grieving. He took a minute for himself. He went, he knew he needed to go alone, be alone, reset, then come back to service, and that's not typically taught in this story or pointed out in this story. So I appreciate that because it's easy to slip into the go, 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 go. It's selfish if I stop to go get my nails done. It's selfish when I stop to go get a pedicure. You know what I mean? Like, so that might be your pause, like, I just need a minute to go, make my toes pretty. Like, if that's your pause, there's nothing selfish about it. So thank you for that. That was really good. It was really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Um, Wes, if you wouldn't mind praying for communion, and then Rachelle, if you would just start your song right afterwards, that would be great. Everybody has something for communion.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Father God, thank you for this morning. Thank you for speaking to Rochelle's heart, reminding us, giving us permission that it's okay to love ourselves in the pause. Thank you for the example of that in your word. And ultimately, thank you for your sacrifice for us. Each week, when I reflect on communion, I still have a hard time just thinking about that sacrifice, the pain you went through for us, the suffering you went through for us, and remembering that it was hard for you, but you did it anyway. And it just it really touches my heart and makes me feel of value. It gives me a purpose and inspiration to try to love and serve in the way that you want us to. And thank you for the opportunity this morning to dig into your word with just like-minded, like hearted human beings. I pray that you speak to each and every one of us individually. And we just thank you for your sacrifice. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.